The NFL draft's just a day away, so for one last time, I want to go over some of the sleepers in this class, and in particular, some of the guys on day 3 that I'm a bit higher on than the general draft consensus. So let's go ahead, get into this sucker. Starting with running back Tyrone Tracy out of Purdue, coming in at 5'11", 209 pounds, currently 111th on my big board, and the general draft consensus sees him more as a mid-day 3 option, and I think a big part of that probably could be, well, I don't know, the first 5 years of his collegiate career he spent at wide receiver. His first 4 years at Iowa, wide receiver. First year at Purdue, wide receiver. This year made the transition to running back, and he was phenomenal, man. He really, really was. Having a yards after contact of 4.44 is just a great number, and good pass protector. He's got some return capabilities, and fun fact, being a former receiver, he brings some good pass catching ability out of the backfield. He's pretty darn good in that regard, and he's displayed good vision. He's very aware of backside opportunities, has a pretty good jump cut and adequate burst, tested out really well at the combine where he ran a 4.4 840. He had a 40-inch broad or 40-inch vert, 124-inch broad. His agility numbers were in the higher percentiles. Like, all in all, man, you got a really good athlete here who can do a lot for you. The thing is, he's only been playing running back for all of a year, and I don't necessarily think that is a detriment to him. It might be in terms of his vision compared to maybe some of the rest in the class, but I'm really high on Tyrone Tracy compared to the general draft consensus. I want to give a shout out to Trey Benson. He's my number 1 running back, but since I'm just talking about day 3 guys in this class, I again just wanted to shout him out as a guy that I'm higher on than the general draft consensus, and he's my RB1 opposed to guys like Jalen Wright, Jonathan Brooks, maybe Blake Corum. I love me some Trey Benson. And I want to follow that up with a much deeper sleeper in Cole Burgess out of Cortland State. He is currently wide receiver 25 for me. He's not really on anybody's like top 300 big board. He wasn't on the consensus top 300 big board. He's at 262 for me, just in there as a draftable prospect. And this cat's been just dominating the Empire Conference. Yeah, he's D3, but almost immediately was a first team All Empire as a return man. Became the start of the following year. Once again, first team All Empire. But then there was a 2-year period where he didn't play because, well, one, the season was canceled because of the Rona. And then in the 2021 season, he was suspended from the school because he hosted a house party during the pandemic. That's not a character red flag to me. It is what it is. I don't really care about it. It's grain of salt. But he returns in 2022, and guess what? First team All Empire, which then he would do again in 2023. Really just annihilated Division III football, led the team to their first national championship in 2023. So we're talking about a hell of a good prospect. Really wish we got to see him in the All-Star circuit, but he's coming in at 6 foot, 192, and golly gee, dude, he's just an excellent athlete. Like, he has the speed, the explosiveness just to tear the top off of defenses. He accelerates really well out of his breaks, which just creates instant separation, plays with sure hands, brings a ton of return experience. If you didn't know, by me mention it, yeah, the guy can return. He's kind of a yak machine with the ball in his hands. However, you are going to be concerned with the level of competition. He is a little bit lean, lacks the ideal physicality during the route and at the catch point. Doesn't exactly leverage defenders away from the catch point. And also the route tree really just consisted of screen, slant, go. But he was someone who worked out, and I saw his pro day and was like, I gotta find me some all 22 of this cat, and came away with like, yeah, no, you know what? I would take a 7th round flyer on someone like this.
Listen, I know you love the NFL draft as much as I do, and you're going to want a nice hefty watch list of players during this college football season. Well, go ahead, check out my draft guide. You can purchase it for only $30 by Venmoing or PayPaling me. Links in the description. It's a one-time payment and you get it for this whole draft cycle and forever and always. Technically, it's a Google spreadsheet. So send me your email when you send the payment. I'll get you hooked up. You will see my current prospect rankings and big board, my full evals. And guess what? It updates throughout the whole draft cycle. So it's a great purchase and it's a great way to support the channel.
Moving to the offensive tackles, and I got Garret Greenfield out of South Dakota State here. He is currently tackle 14 for me, and I have him kind of as this like early to mid 4th round pick, opposed to the general consensus seeing him as a late day 3 option. And he is, for the last 6 years, he has been an anchor for South Dakota State. Didn't start his first 2 years, but immediately was going off at right tackle, made first team All Missouri Valley, and then moved to the left side in 2022, where he was a first team All FCS 2 years back. So back, just phenomenal. Now, dude's got really good upper body strength, can throw some definite blows. He isn't just strong, but with his punches, he displays like just good hand quicks. In general, he throws accurate shots as well. He's a plus athlete for the position and just good movement skills to be able to get vertically or laterally. And he can get moving in a hurry. He understands blocking angles pretty darn well, whether it's in the passing game, whether it's him dropping back or him having to move forward in the run game. I think he brings a lot to the table here, but another guy who is a little bit taller, 6'6". Again, you're going to suffer from, can he consistently get leverage? And that was kind of a theme for him, but 313, so I kind of ideal weight here for the tackle position. There are times where he overextends, but to be fair, that's kind of a problem you see among a lot of collegiate offensive linemen, with them just kind of overextending and maybe playing a little bit more off balance than you'd like to see. There are times against like quicker athletes that the footwork gets a little sloppy. He does have this narrow base where it just kind of allows him for guys to just kind of get around him relatively quickly. But I like this cat a lot in a very good tackle class. Like, people talk about like Christian Jones, Caden Wallace, Javon Foster as these early day 3 options, and I think Greenfield should be right up there with them. Sticking with the offensive line, I got Jacob Monk, guard / center out of Duke. He's currently interior 17 for me. Another guy that I'm a bit higher on than the general consensus. I got him a whole 100 spots higher than where he is currently on the consensus big board. And big reason of that is I firmly think he is a guard at the next level. I truly do. His guard tape was really good at Duke, though he did split time at center, so you could say, okay, he can play center, but I think his guard tape was just much better than what he showed at center. He's got a lineage when it comes to the NFL. His father, Stanley Monk, was a running back at Duke and had a short stint with the Dallas Cowboys. His late uncle, Quincy Monk, played linebacker in North Carolina. He was a 7th round pick in the 2002, there we go, NFL draft, where he was selected by the Giants. Also played for the Texans. But Monk also, like, immediately as a freshman, started 12 games at right tackle before they kicked him inside. So this is someone that has versatility along the offensive line. And he came into the year on Bruce Feldman's freaks list. If you're curious about his testing, yeah, he tested out hella good. Ran a 5.09 40. The explosive, like the 10-yard split, the explosive portion of that was good at 1.66 seconds. 31 on the bench. He had 108 inches on the broad jump. So yeah, the dude tested up to what a lot of people thought he would be. And I think he's got the movement skills. He plays with a really good anchor, a good low center of gravity, and he's able not just to sustain blocks, but uses strong hands and good leg drive to move guys. The thing is, like if you're looking at him as a center, I think he's a work in progress. I think he could start guard early. And he does play with that NFL mean streak, but sometimes he gets ahead of himself. And again, you're going to hear it, overextends, plays off balance. Hands are quick. The hand placement, I think, could be a bit better. But Monk is definitely one of these guys that I like quite a bit. I do want to give a shout out to like a Mason McCormick, who I think a lot of the draft community maybe sees him as an early day 3, maybe 3rd round. I'm much higher on him. That's why he doesn't make the list. I have him as a day 2 prospect. I guess I just love the South Dakota State guys. Maybe that's the thing. But also you got like Bo Limmer out of Arkansas. He was a darling to me coming into the year, and I still have him in this like 3rd round range. So still like him quite a bit. Christian Haynes, another guy that I have a day 2 grade on. But someone that I feel like I was higher on than where the general draft consensus was. I had him as a 3rd round prospect for the 2023 draft before he decided to return. Also, though, do want to shout out Byron Hudson, center out of Louisville. I think the NFL just doesn't like him. It is what it is. I get it. The play strength needs to get a little bit better with him. He needs to get a little more technically sound. Sometimes he does have just some bad reps. Just go watch their game against Florida State. It was kind of rough for Byron Hudson, but I think in terms of just the athletic ability, the functional, like the full body strength, it's there if you want to work on a project. I think it's there for him. But I do want to mention one more offensive lineman, and that is Jarrett Kingston out of USC's currently interior 29 for me. I got a 7th round, 6th round grade on him, and currently not ranked on the consensus big board. I get it, but he started 5 years at Washington State before, well, not 5 straight years, but he played 5 years, started 3 years at Washington State. As a matter of fact, man, he had to play left tackle Washington State in his final season there before suffering a season-ending leg injury. Decided to transfer to USC, and unfortunately they split this guy between guard and right tackle. Like, he started all 12 games, and he started the first 7 at guard, and then had to kick out to right tackle. And like, this guy is going to be a guard in the NFL. Coming in at 6'4", 306, more of a guard type of body, and the dude plays with such loose hips, quick feet, very technically sound, especially when it comes to his footwork. He understands blocking angles. He stays low. He's strong out of his stance, and he shows like a little bit of nastiness in those short yardage situations. And we're gonna kind of go to like what he tested out at, because it was really good for that. But the movement skills are really good. Matter of fact, let's just go into the testing times. 5.02 40. He had a 1.73 second 10-yard split. That is in the higher percentile. 36 reps on the bench. Thank you very much. And like everything else, the explosive numbers were a high percentile. The agility numbers, high percentile. He tested out phenomenally, and I'm shocked that not more people are really talking about him. I really, really am. Now, he did, I think a grip of that is because you go to Washington State, not a lot of pro Russian concepts, but I didn't think that hindered him when he made the move to USC. I really, really don't. And I think he's got good enough length for the position. I think he could do a better job of keeping defenders out of his pads, but kind of shocked that he's not really higher on, well, I'm kind of shocked that he's not on people's boards in general, man. I'm a big Kingston fan. I truly, truly am. Moving to the defense, I got Jowon Briggs out of Cincinnati playing defensive tackle. He's DT 17 for me, and another guy not on a lot of people's consensus, like top 300. He's 209 for me. I have a 6th round grade on him, and he started his career at Virginia, where he actually started seven games as a freshman. Did start the first 7 in 2020 before deciding to transfer to be closer to home, and that was Cincinnati, where he was almost an immediate starter. Started 5 or 6 games of the 14 he played in, but he was a for sure, like, hey, this is our starter in 2022. Was a first team all AAC. Started 12 games this past season. Coming in at 6'1", 313, legitimate bowling ball. Like, very sturdy build. Packs a lot of muscle on that build. Was on Bruce Feldman's freaks list because of his power. And talking about a 700-pound squat. Golly gee, that's insane. His deadlift, 655 pounds, did 31 on the bench. How did that translate to his pro day? Well, he had 39 reps on the bench, so it translated kind of good. Not the most explosive guy. It's just kind of not him. Like, but when you're talking about like stupid strong, play strength is insane. He plays the run very well, keeps gap integrity. I love that about him. And he plays with like a good pass rush game plan, and he'll play through or to and through the whistle. He's shown a little bit of lateral quicks as well. And I mean, dude, his pursuit speed's legit. He was clocked in at close to 19 miles per hour during the 2023 season. I wish his hands were a little bit more active. Like, after his initial rush gets stonewalled, he just tries to kind of grind it out, and that kind of showed based on like limited production. 15 pressures, 2 sacks this past season. His pass rush win rate was only 7.7%, so it kind of shows up. His frame and tools are pretty much maxed out. Kind of like what you see is what you're gonna get. And there are some times where he will vacate his assignment when dealing with pull-in concepts. So all in all, like, I think you're getting a guy that can be a really good like 2-gapper in the NFL. I have a comp for this cat as Andrew Billings. So saying, I don't know. I think he's someone that should get drafted. When it comes to this interior class, there are quite a few guys that I think don't get a lot of shine. If I'm going to talk solely about players I have in day 3, there's Keenan Stewart out of UTEP, which, I mean, to be frank, like, the guy just doesn't have the frame or the athleticism, but like, he has the win rate. You look at the film, it's like, oh man, this guy has it, but you're kind of curious if that'll translate to success in the NFL. And then out of Texas A&M Commerce, I also have Levi Drake Rodriguez as someone who just really good athlete, guy that moved from, I think he was initially on the offensive side of the football, and then he was playing edge for a little bit before he moved to interior the last few seasons. Going to linebacker, and I don't love this linebacker class, but if I really had to talk about somebody, it's probably Jordan Magee. He made my top 10 linebackers, so if you want to kind of go more in depth with what I love about him, you could check that out. But yeah, I mean, I got him as like this early day 3. I think he's seen mostly as a mid to late day 3 prospect. I'm gonna get a quick sip of water. The throat's drying up already, and we haven't even gotten to the draft. But he's coming in at 6'1", 228 pounds. Phenomenal athlete, if you couldn't tell. I mean, just look at how he tested at the combine. 4.55 40. It had 124 inches in the broad, 35.5 inches in the vert. The agility numbers were really good, 6.9 in the 3-cone. So you're dealing with a really good athlete who you kind of hope puts a little bit more mass on his frame, but he has been a starter, full-time starter the last 3 seasons. He was a second-team All-AAC this past year. He's wearing a single-digit number. If you didn't know, that's a good thing at Temple. Like, this cat's praised for his intelligence, his high work ethic, high character by coaches, teammates, so much so that it got him that single-digit number at Temple in 2022. Like, again, that's kind of a big thing when it comes to him. He is a bit over aggressive, kind of led to some missed tackles. I think he had 14.9% missed tackle rate over the course of his career. He has really no trouble taking on blocks, but I do worry about his ability to free himself from those blocks. But again, if you want to know about him a little bit deeper, he did make my top 10 linebackers, and I talk about him in depth over there. Moving to the corner class, and there's quite a few corners, honestly, I could talk about. But I'm going to talk about Qwan'Tez Stiggers here out of Toronto. You're like, Toronto? Yeah, he was playing in the CFL last year. He's had one of the more interesting journeys. I got him at 148 on my big board. Currently on the consensus big board, he's more of a like 7th round, late day 3 option. And I can see him going higher than that. And honestly, I will say this. A lot of this is based on what I saw at the Shrine, because I could not get my hands on CFL all 22. I just don't know how you can do that. I just don't. But let's talk about the journey real quick when it comes to Stiggers, as he was a 0-star recruit coming out of Atlanta, played basketball. He has 12 brothers and sisters. That's kind of nuts. One of his brothers was left a quadriplegic. Golly, can't move his arms or legs because of a spinal injury he suffered during playing football. So Stiggers already kind of facing a little adversity in his life, having to deal with that in the family, but it just kept raining as his father was involved in a serious car accident in February of 2020, and he would eventually pass away later that year. And that led to him just quitting football. He was on scholarship at Lane College, but decided to drop out because just couldn't deal with the passing of his father. And I get that, man. That's such a tough thing for a kid to go through. And he ends up not playing football in 2021, and his mother, man, just wouldn't get off his back. And good for her. Good for her. It was like, hey, man, you want to play football? Go play football. He played in the fan-controlled football league, where he led the league in interceptions. And the Toronto Argonauts, the CFL team, the OC, suggested, hey, why don't you try out for Canadian football, dude? He did, and he ended up playing for the Argonauts, funny enough. And he ends up winning CFL's Most Outstanding Rookie of the Year award, and put him on the mark for a lot of NFL teams. I think it was 26 NFL teams were asking, hey, get this guy at the Shrine. We want to see this cat. And you'd be like, okay, well, how does he qualify? If you're 4 years removed from a high school, you are eligible for the draft. So that's how that works. If you were curious, that's how that works. But he's a fast athlete. He was clocked in at close to 20 miles an hour at the Shrine. He showed he showed to be really good in press technique and just uses his hands extremely well. He also looked really good in off coverage. Does a really good job of just closing that cushion between him and the receiver and challenging the catch point. Again, had 5 interceptions back in 2022 for fan-controlled football. But we'll say lacks experience overall. Again, a guy that didn't play football collegiately. His experience comes from essentially just 1 year in Canada, though he was hella good. And just kind of him being a relative unknown is kind of the biggest concern and red flag when it comes to Stiggers. But he is a guy I'm rooting for. And I've decided, hey, I'm gonna go in on this guy. I got him as corner 20 in this class. But I really like this class, so much so. Let's talk about another corner here in MJ Devonshire out of Pittsburgh. He's currently corner 22 for me. I got him only a little bit higher on my big board compared to the consensus, but I'm kind of shocked that more people don't love this cat. He's coming in at 6 foot, 189. Does out really well. You're gonna look at the bench. Oh, only 10 bench reps. I don't care. I don't care what my corner bench is. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I don't care. You might remember him because he had the back in 2022 in the season opener, West Virginia versus Pittsburgh. He had the pick 6 to seal the game in there. It was such a wild ending. I remember that game because I was doing my fantasy football draft, and I do an in-person fantasy football draft with me and a bunch of my friends there in the league. And we were watching that game as we were drafting. It was just kind of, it was nuts. It was nuts. But he was formerly a 4-star recruit coming out of Pennsylvania. He played wide receiver and defensive back. there in high school, but he was also a big threat on special teams where he had 8 punt returns for touchdowns, as that was one short of the national record. He had 5 touchdown returns called back because of penalties. Ain't that some crap? Also played basketball where he was actually pretty successful, averaging 17 points per game. And he also won Pennsylvania's track titles in the 100 and 200 meter. His brother actually currently plays football at a lower university, but started his career at Kentucky before deciding to transfer to be closer to home there at Pittsburgh, and has been a starter the last 2 seasons. He was the primary punt returner back in 2022, but he's got legitimate return skills. That's something you're concerned about. But for his body, he's got really good length, just a smidge under 33-inch arms. Also, pretty solid, good athlete, good foot speed, good acceleration. He has shown really good ball skills the last 2 seasons, or last 3, honestly, with 16 pass breakups, 8 interceptions. Very good in zone coverage, like good feel, stays low in his back pedal, knows how to click and close real quickly, and golly, he could get to a spot before the quarterback, before the ball even leaves the quarterback's hands. He will be one of the older prospects in this class. He will be 24 going into his rookie year, and might not have ideal launch speed. I believe he tests out at 4.47, which is not a bad number by any means, but you got to nitpick here and there. Sometimes he does play a bit more of a high risk, high reward type of style. Another cat that I'm kind of intrigued, and this is a really good corner class. Like, legitimately, this is a really good corner class. I can name out a few of these guys that I really like here on day 3, talking about like DeCamarion Richardson out of Mississippi State. You got Elijah Jones out of Boston College, who I was pumping up after I talked about him in the Hula Bowl video I did. I was so happy that he got a Senior Bowl invite. So someone I was pumping up. Also, you could throw Chigozie Anuzium out of Colorado State. Great build and great speed at that size. Also, Renardo Green, but I have him as a day 2 prospect, so I couldn't include him on the list here. But shockingly, for me at least, he's typically looked at as an early day 3 pick. I feel like he's one of the better press options in this class. But let's talk about the safeties, because I got a sleeper for you. It's Jordan Toles out of Morgan State. He is currently safety 17 for me, coming in at 6 foot, 216 pounds, so good size there. Length is kind of all right. It's nothing special, only 31 inches, but ran a 4.51 40. That's pretty solid. The explosive numbers, not out of this world, but they were average. I like that. The agility numbers were really good. He ran a 6.55 3-cone, kind of nuts, and then a 4.5 20-yard shuttle, which also is pretty decent. But when it comes to this cat, he was initially a highly regarded recruit. It's not just some guy coming out of nowhere from Morgan State. That's not the case when it comes to him. He was a 4-star recruit out of the 2020 class. He was also a 3-star recruit in basketball. Hello. Ends up going to LSU. He was primarily a special teamer his first year. And then in 2021, he played in 6 of the first 7 games as a reserve. And that's when Brian Kelly gets hired after the season as the new LSU head coach. Toles, he goes to practice thinking he's going to be the starter, and he was actually worked out as the starter throughout the spring, until then a bunch of transfers came in after the spring games, and then he goes into late fall listed among the 3rd team, and he's like, what the hell? I was the starter in spring. What the hell happened? So he decides to transfer and go back closer to home because he's from Baltimore. He goes to Morgan State, where he started 3 games in 2022. But it was this year he put his name on the map as he started 9 games, was a first team all conference. He's got a good, strong build. He truly does. And he can come downhill with the head of steam, and some of his hits on film are just bone shattering. He does a good job of working off blocks and run support, and does a good job finding his pathway to ball carriers as well. Just a very smooth athlete, smooth mover, and he brings a lot of special teams experience to the table. However, sometimes he does tackle with a high pad level. Like, you just don't want to do that with ball carriers because, I mean, you're just going to end up looking like a washcloth thrown against a wall at some points. But fortunately, he does have a sturdy and strong build, so those were able to work in the collegiate level, but in the NFL, he's going to have to work on that tackling technique. Good athlete, not a great one, kind of is what it is. And, like, I think he gets praised for his work ethic, but I think in terms of his diet, like his ability to diagnose, could be a little bit better. That's kind of why I do see him in like this like 5th, 6th round area is kind of where I would like him and take a shot on him. Not on the consensus top 300 big board. Doesn't really surprise me. Again, kind of a guy that came out of nowhere. Just kind of came across my my screen one day and was like, oh man, I kind of like this cat. Hello, let's go. But you let me know who are some of your favorite day 3 prospects in this draft class. Draft is almost here, guys. If you want to cram some draft content so that you know every prospect that your team drafts, check out the channel, check out the draft guide. But as always, until next time, be easy, my friends. Later.